Today, as every year on the second day of June, we celebrate our friendship. And it is worth celebrating because it goes back a long way. To the first Italians who called Zimbabwe their home, many decades ago, when the power of the mighty Zambezi was first harnessed at Kariba, and perhaps even further down the line. Last year, between May and October, this friendship was enriched by Zimbabwe's participation in Expo Milan 2015, the universal exposition themed around feeding the planet, which provided to its 20 million visitors an opportunity to take a glimpse at this beautiful country. Perhaps of all the cluster pavilions, Zimbabwe's was the most successful, largely thanks to the idea to offer crocodile burgers and baobab juice to its visitors. They, of course, loved it and were instantly convinced that crocodile meat would become part of their diet. It has been much more difficult, let me tell you, to convince the Italian authorities that crocodiles don't pose any health risks. But I told them, Kana achitichka tinomachka o. If he eats us, we can eat him too, right? During the course of the past year, the relationship between Italy and Zimbabwe was strengthened by a number of encounters on political level. Our Deputy Foreign Minister was here in July 2015. Then Minister Mike Bima went to Italy at the end of August. The Reserve Bank Governor went to Rome in September in preparation for the Lima meeting. And finally, Foreign Minister Mumbengegwi was in Rome for the Italia-Africa Conference, which took place very recently. The nature of our relationship is such that we are able to discuss matters openly, frankly and constructively, even when, or shall I say especially when, we have a problem. Through frank and constructive dialogue, we were, for example, able to overcome the financial difficulties that threatened the completion of the Tokwe Mukosi Dam, and let me thank Minister Muchinguri and Minister Chinamasa for their positive engagement. So I'm pleased to announce that work has resumed at the site with the aim of making the dam ready and operational in time for the next rainy season. And hopefully there will be one. And speaking of rain, or lack of it, Italy will be among the countries coming to Zimbabwe's rescue to alleviate the effects of the El Niño-induced drought by providing emergency aid, particularly to the most vulnerable segments of society. So much for the relationship between the two governments. But a relationship between two countries is not just made of what is discussed between governments. It is also made by people, by their interaction with each other. There are some 700 Italian citizens living in Zimbabwe, and I salute them for their contribution to and their role in the development of this country. Last year, I spoke about the legacy of one of them, Dr. Luisa Guidotti, who was killed in 1979 because of her determination to help every patient of any color or political creed that came to our hospital. And I said that her legacy lives on through the work of Italian volunteers and private donors who daily make their contribution to the health sector in Zimbabwe. Today, unfortunately, I must speak about another recent tragic occurrence. This year, 2 Italians lost their lives in this country and for this country. Claudio and Massimiliano Chiarelli, father and son, were tragically killed on March 13th during an anti-poaching operation in Manipus. Whilst the investigation is still ongoing, one thing is clear. Their passion for conservation drove them to help in any way they could the ill-equipped and poorly trained rangers who also risk their lives daily in what is a veritable armed conflict being fought along the northern border of Zimbabwe. Claudio and Massimiliano clearly understood that the war on poaching is not only Zimbabwe's war. It is a war that concerns all of us as we struggle to protect what is left of the Earth's primeval habitats. This is their legacy, and we must make sure that it lives on. As custodians of our planet, we must follow in their footsteps and do whatever we can to assist and to make sure that the war against poaching is won. We can't undo a tragedy like this, but we can at least make sure that some good comes out of it. Opportunity out of adversity. So speaking of the opportunity and adversity, you can call me an unrepentant optimist, but I believe that out of the current economic crisis, an opportunity can be born for Zimbabwe. It is the opportunity to lay the foundations of a solid economy through reform. And I know, as you know, that given the chance, this economy can bounce back in no time at all. But reforms are needed, and we would be fools or false friends if we did not highlight it. This is an economy that is much more robust and resilient than some statistics would have us believe. But some key problems that undermine business confidence need to be addressed and solved. And let me be clear on this, reforms are not made through declarations. They are made by laws, acts of Parliament. Let us not take my word for it, nor the Minister of Finance's word for it, and not even the IMF's word for it. Let us take the businessman's word. Let us listen to the market. So back to what we do as an embassy and as a country. We will continue to support Zimbabwe's effort to overcome its present predicaments and eventually access the international financial markets, as we have done throughout the IMF's Staff Monitor program. We will continue to foster development and civil society dialogue through arts and culture. And by the way, the 9th edition of our Musica Festival last year was a resounding success, which we hope to repeat this year in early October. I want you all dancing here on this very lawn. We will continue to play our role because there is no doubt in our minds that this country is made of exceptional people going through tough times. This is when they need our help, and we won't fail them. That is what true friends do, and this is the nature of the friendship and the relationship that we celebrate today. Thank you.